The New York Yankees could have a reunion this winter with Michael King. Brian Hoke of MLB.com reports that multiple people inside the Yankees organization would welcome a reunion with right-handed pitcher Michael King, who's declined his option for 2026 and will now hit unrestricted free agency. The right-hander spent time with the Yankees from 2020 to 2023 before being traded in a package of players that ended up bringing Juan Soto and Trent Grisham to New York. We're going to break down why Michael King could be a fit for the Yankees, some of the risks he comes with, what his market price could look like, all of that and more. My name is Ryan Garcia. This is Fireside Yankees, your one-stop shop for Yankees content at both the major and minor league level. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to check out Fireside Yankees and get updates on our next uploads. Again, I wanted you guys to comment letting me know, do you think Michael King is a good or a bad fit for the Yankees? And if you think he's a good fit, what would you give him as a contract offer? Without further ado though, let's get straight into this video. Let's talk about free agent pitcher Michael King, who the Yankees could show interest in this offseason. This past year was a step back from his incredible 2024 season, as his ERA increased by about half a run to 3.44, his FIP increased by over a run to 4.42, and his strikeout rate decreased by about 3% to 24.7%. Now, the ERA and the strikeout percentage were still both above average, but the big issue with Michael King's season, and the reason why his FIP jumped up so much, is his home runs per nine increased dramatically. Michael King in 2024 had a 0.88 home runs per nine, and this year he had a 1.47 home runs per nine, the highest mark he's ever put up in his career since 2020, when it was a 1.69. Granted, that came in 26 and 2/3 innings. This one came in 73 and a third innings, so this isn't a small sample size situation. Over the course of about half a season's of work for a starting pitcher, Michael King was a home run dispenser. That is a far fall off from what we're used to seeing from King. Now, he did have injuries midseason that affected his performance. In about June and July, it was an injury, an arm injury, some lower body stuff he dealt with as well in the summer months. If you look at his numbers before he hit the injured list, he had a 2.59 ERA and a 3.26 FIP. His K per nine was 10.35, and if you want to look at his strikeout rate, which I think is a better metric, it was 28.4%. Only walked 7.6% of batters faced with a sub-1 home runs per nine. Then you look at his 5 starts following the injury. He returns from the injured list against the Red Sox on August 9th, and it was all downhill from there. He struck out just 14.5% of batters faced. That's about half the strikeout rate he had pre-injury. His walk rate increased by about 3% to 10.8%. That's very uncharacteristic of Michael King, and he had a 3.06 home runs allowed per nine, which is just mind-boggling. He allowed 6 home runs in 5 starts, and in 17 and 2/3 innings pitched, he only completed 5 innings twice in those final 5 starts, and he never exceeded 5 innings pitched in any of those starts. And these are starts against some offenses like Cincinnati and the White Sox, where you expect them to just be able to go out there and dominate. His stuff and his command were way worse than where they were pre-injury as well. If you look at stuff plus, it was a 93 stuff plus. If it was location plus, 98. So firmly below average stuff, below average command. Again, pre-injury, what was the location plus at? 103, so above average command, and the stuff plus 101, above average stuff. So if you're an above average stuff guy with an above average command, you're going to be a pretty good starting pitcher, especially when you're Michael King, who has such a deep pitch mix. Now, let's talk about some of the appeals here. Number one, that injury definitely hurt his price on the free agent market, and you could make the argument that that injury affecting his performance shouldn't be used as a reason to say Michael King isn't that good of a pitcher. Perhaps it's just a setback that happened that teams can overlook, teams can gloss over, and still acquire an effective starting pitcher, perhaps at a discounted price. His velocity didn't drop at all. His sinker sat at 92.9 miles per hour last year. This year, it was 92.7. Four-seam fastball went from 93.7 to 93.7. Changeup stayed at the same velocity. The sweeper actually was thrown a little bit harder this year, about a 2.2 mile per hour increase. Now, again, command, location, that got worse throughout the year. Guys were pulling the ball more in the air against him. That resulted in more damage contact, especially with a dramatic increase in barrel percentage from 6.2% to 11.5%. People were making more contact against him, generating more hard hit contact against him, weren't chasing as much. They chased way less. They whiffed way less. Those are all signs of poor command usually. If you're not commanding the ball well, if you're not locating well, if your stuff takes a hit, that usually ends up happening. You're not able to put guys away. You're not throwing the right pitch in the right spot to get the swing that you would usually get. And Michael King's calling card has always been great command. I know people look at the wiffle ball movement and go, wow, this guy's calling card is his stuff, it's his movement, it's definitely not his command. He's a stuff first pitcher. But if you look at the location and the consistency in which he executes two-seamers that are front hip sinkers to left-handed batters, the backdoor breaking balls to lefties, the ability to throw a sweeper on the outside part of the plate against lefties, consistently throw the sweeper away to righties, sinkers that you can kind of graze the outside part of the plate and get a right-handed hitter looking. These are just things that Michael King does way better than most starting pitchers in Major League Baseball, and it's the execution of those pitches on a pitch-to-pitch basis that made him so good. This past season, that wasn't really there. Again, that could just be tied to command. I would be more concerned if there was a stuff drop-off. A stuff drop-off would indicate that something was so wrong that physically you couldn't get back to the point he was earlier in the year. That is an alarm bell in terms of trying to give a guy a contract and trying to figure out if he's going to be as effective or as capable in 2026. Now, with Michael King hitting free agency, there are a couple of questions to ask in terms of what he's looking for, how the Padres will treat his free agency, and what other teams could be involved. Let's talk about the first. What is he going to ask for? Now, Michael King is entering his age 31 season in 2026. The odds of him getting a 6-year deal are pretty low to me. I don't think a team is going to go out there and say, here's 6 years, $140 million for a guy who's exceeded the 150 inning threshold in his major league career just once and just came off a year where he wasn't great. He was about a solid, maybe a number 3 caliber starter and missed time due to injury. So I don't think he's getting that 6-year, $140 million deal that he might have gotten if he repeated his 2024 season. I also don't think he's going to get some cheap deal where he's making under $20 million a year on a 4 or 5 year deal. I think if he gets 4 years, the money would look close to $88 to $90 million. If he got 5 years, I think he would get a 9-figure contract. So I think teams are going to be willing to go to 4 or 5 years with King. But I think for King, the wild card here is, does he want to rebuild his value, take a 1-year deal, and hit the market again entering his age 32 season? Those are things that you all have to factor in for here. Ultimately, I think that the contract is going to be a big figure or a big reason why the Yankees do or don't sign him. If he signs a deal and it's 4 years, $88 million, which is roughly, I think, where Spot Track has him at, yeah, I can see the Yankees being involved. It's a $21 to $22 million luxury tax hit. That is not that significant. If you sign Cody Bellinger and you add a reliever, you suddenly have a really good rotation, your outfield is set, and you have a better bullpen. That's something I think the Yankees could be comfortable doing. I wouldn't rule them out of that. I'm not saying they're favorites, but I would not rule them out based on those contract stipulations. If it were a 2-year, $55 million deal, $50 million deal where there's an opt-out after 2026, I think the Yankees would be in still because it's not a long-term deal. It's 1 year of significant salary, and then you expect the player to opt out and hit the market again. But I think I'm a little more skeptical of the Yankees being that team, and I also am skeptical of the number of $25 million. Maybe it'd be higher, 26, 27, 28, maybe even 30. And then we look at his 2026 numbers, and the Yankees are taking the risk that he's not very good. He's hurt. He doesn't opt out, and you're on the hook for that money in 2027 for a potentially ineffective starting pitcher. Now, the other variable, what the Padres do here, does matter. It's not that if they pursue him, the Yankees are going to be out. If they give him the qualifying offer, which from the Padres' perspective is probably a good thing to do because he's going to probably reject it, and if he takes it, it's 1 year, $20 million. You've got a starting pitcher. You don't have to worry about long-term money, et cetera, et cetera. That would ruin a lot of the Yankees' interest in King because then they would have to give up draft picks to acquire him. And I would also say, as someone who wants the Yankees to sign Kyle Tucker, not only would financially King probably stop you from signing Tucker, but if he also has a qualifying offer attached, the Yankees are not forfeiting 2 sets of draft picks to sign Tucker and King. That's not happening. So if a qualifying offer is issued, I would sit here and tell you the Yankees are not signing Michael King. That is not a matter of fact. That's just an opinion and observation. I'd at least say that hinders their chances of signing Michael King. Now, whether the Yankees, whether the Padres extend that qualifying offer or not remains to be seen, but that's definitely a variable in all of this. Finally, I would also like to point out with the Yankees in their situation, their rotation may seem like it's not a weakness and that they don't need to add starting pitching and that they could add like a Ryan Yarbrough and be okay. Their 5th starter right now is Alan Winans. Cole and Rodon are out for the start of the year. They might return in the next coming weeks after opening day, but I don't know what that timeline even looks like. Both are expected to return in the first half. That's good, but what does it even look like? What do these guys look like when they're back? How effective are these 2 pitchers? What does their command look like? Those are all things to really evaluate here. Fried and Schlittler are your 1 and 2 going into 2026. Warren is your number 3. Heal's your number 4. I don't view Warren and Heal as guys that I would look at as players who stop you from adding a starting pitcher because they won't be in the rotation if everyone comes back and healthy. That's fine with me. That's okay with me. I'm trying to win a World Series. I'm okay not having a guy who I'm probably not giving the ball to in October not be a starter on my staff at the end of the year. That's okay with me. I don't think there's any issues there. If those two serve reliever roles, that's great. You get more bullpen depth. If those two are trade bait, great. You might get a really good player back if you use them in a package because those two guys carry a lot of value as controllable, cheap starting pitchers. So those aren't deterrents for me, and those shouldn't be deterrent for Yankee fans if your goal is to win the World Series, because there's no reason for that to be a deterrent. You can produce 2 WAR starting pitchers inside your organization. You have a plethora of them coming up to the farm that can project to fill in those roles and be effective starting pitchers like these 2 guys were. Now, in the situation where the Yankees add a starting pitcher and they have Fried, Cole, Rodon, Schlittler, and someone like Michael King as the 5, that is a devastating rotation. You can shuffle pieces around as these guys perform, and you get to see what their production levels look like throughout the 2026 season. That would give you a better understanding, too, of how certain guys are going to come back from injury, what your long-term future with these 2 players or these group of players look like, how good will Cole be down the final years of his contract, how good will Rodon be in the final 3 years of his contract. We're halfway through the Rodon contract already. It's kind of crazy to say that. Fried, how he looks like in 2026 after a strong 2025, and it doesn't put pressure on Cam Schlittler to be an ace. He can become one. I am confident he can become one. He has the stuff and the upside to do it, but it doesn't make it a mandatory outcome in order for this team to have a shot to beat the Dodgers in a postseason series. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think that adding a starting pitcher should be on the Yankees' docket. They should be looking to add an impact outfield bat, an impact starting pitcher who can make a playoff start, and add 1 impact reliever. If you do those 3 things, you're going to have a really darn good ball club. You're probably going to win 95 games. You're probably going to be the best team in the American League in that scenario because you're adding to all 3 of your roster weaknesses or roster needs, and you're doing it with impact players, not guys who are going to sit in the sidelines and watch when another guy takes a start instead of them. That's not what we want. We don't want a 4-starter. We don't want a guy who hits 7th or 6th in your lineup. No, we don't need that. We need guys who are going to hit 3rd in the lineup. We need guys who are going to be the number 2 starter. We need guys who are going to take the ball in the 7th or 8th innings of a ball game. Those are the guys this team needs. They don't need to spread the wealth around to make sure they've got decent players all over. They've got decent players all over already. They've got guys who can play every day already at certain spots and hit towards the bottom of the order. They need stars. It's time that you load up on stars. I don't know if Michael King profiles as that. It's totally fair to say that's not what Michael King is, and that's why I extend the conversation to you guys now. Do you believe Michael King is the kind of player you go, we signed him, he's a number 2 starter for this staff, or do you view him more as a number 3? Maybe you view him as a risk, as a project, not the kind of guy you want to invest significant financial capital to. Let me know again in the comment section below how you feel about a reunion with Michael King. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, this is Fireside Yankees. If this is your first time watching a Fireside Yankees video, welcome on board. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Now make sure to subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. And you can check out our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook as well. EmpireSportsMedia.com is our home for written content. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.
Perfect.